I want to say thanks to everybody that watches and all that kind of stuff. Go ahead and slap that like button, and let's go ahead and get started with this bit of very interesting and very cool PlayStation news. Yeah, this is good stuff. I know a lot of people are probably waiting for the bit of bigger news where they're going to finally get some instance of a way to use a expansion for the solid state drive. This is something that I think a lot of people are definitely looking forward to. And while this isn't that, it does look like we are getting some interesting new features and some things being announced for the PlayStation 5 via a new software update, which sounds pretty cool as well. Again, not something world-breaking or game-changing, but something cool nonetheless. Sony has just rolled out a new PlayStation 5 firmware update, PlayStation 5 System software update 21.01.03.21.00. Now, as with most PlayStation software updates nowadays, the release notes for this update only mention improved system performance. If enabled, the new system update will automatically be downloaded to the console, and the new firmware version can also be downloaded manually via the PS5 system settings, which you guys should all know how to do that. If you do not know how to do that, I would just say go ahead and slap yourself, because you should. It's pretty simple stuff, and it's probably stuff, if you're a PlayStation fan, that you've been doing for a very long time now. So make sure you guys go ahead and do that, because it'd be definitely much appreciated. We're pretty sure that the update does a lot more than that, but there's these under the hood changes haven't been shared just yet. For the sake of completeness, they've included a list of notes, which I'm going to read off to you right now in my radio voice. Sony will likely be upgrading its official PS5 system update page shortly with the release notes as well. The current PS5 firmware version, like I said, as follows. The system update was released last month and packed improvements, system performance, alongside various fixes. The PlayStation 5 is available globally now, so go ahead and pick it up. Obviously, there's going to be plenty of things to play in the future, and we're even getting a state of play, which is always really a good thing if you really think about it. Now, according to this bit of news, this feature set on the PlayStation 5 focuses on improved system performance. The system software update improves system performance. They've updated some DualSense wireless controller device software to improve stability. They fixed some issues with restricted the functionality of some screens when the screen reader was enabled, and they've also fixed an issue where games that you've hidden on PS4 were not hidden on PS5. Now, various settings and things like this all make sense from a platform holder like Sony trying to make the best of the console. Now, I've mentioned this multiple times in the past. These are evolving platforms, and so we continue to see a lot of these things come about, and I gotta say that it's something that people kind of talk about in a roundabout way that we take for granted nowadays, because really back in the day, we didn't get like firmware updates all the time and things like that. So I do hope that this is a very thing that we get quite often, but I also think that I like it a little bit better when we get a big update maybe a couple times a year, as opposed to some of these smaller ones, unless the smaller ones are to fix really like nagging issues and things like that. The PlayStation 5, in my opinion, is already running extremely well. I think we're all pretty much more interested in actually being able to go out there and pick up an expansion slot at some point. I think that's something that a lot of us are pretty much asking for at this particular time, and to almost no avail. You know what I mean? Speaking of which, in terms of what's going on with the PlayStation 5, people might not realize it, because there's a lot of kind of nonsense out there in terms of like, is Xbox actually a threat to PlayStation? And a lot of people kind of run with that as well. So to shift gears a little bit, it's very interesting to see that a lot of people were running with a VG charts situation, which again, I've been on record. I think VG charts is a fun way to kind of rile people up, so I get that aspect of it. But at the same time, if you actually look into their history, they have absolutely no kind of way to get official numbers from anybody. And they claim to get numbers that Microsoft specifically never give out. So I think it's best to kind of believe anything that they say and take it with a grain of salt. But they actually had the Xbox Series X/S slightly beating the PS5 in sales in the United States, North America, I think for 1 week or whatever. I don't know about the following week, but a lot of people were running with that as if it was like the gospel or whatever. But now there are various places that actually track it. Like the UK has a legit tracker. Obviously, there's the NBT in the US and Media Create in Japan. So those are the 3 places that track legitimately. So according to this, though, PS5 is comfortably the market leader in the UK with sales up 25% in 2020. It does look like all 3 formats are performing well in the UK at the moment, despite stock issues, with over 1 million sold in 2021. 7 months after the start of the new generation of consoles, you'd expect the new formats to have taken over from the old in terms of sales, but that was never guaranteed given the stock issues suffered by the PlayStation 5. Nevertheless, game industry biz Christopher Dring has revealed via Twitter that PlayStation 5 is comfortably outselling all of the consoles at the moment. As usual, there are no sales figures, but he states that the Nintendo Switch is in second place and the Xbox Series X and S are behind that. So overall sales for video game consoles have already hit 1 million in 2021, a 25% increase on last year, all of which suggests business is very healthy for all 3. However, it's still impossible to tell how sales would be going if the PlayStation 5 were easily available. Again, this actually says that the Xbox Series S is supply constrained but relatively easy to pick up if you want it. Neither Sony or Microsoft like to talk about such things, but it's believed that Sony has ensured that it has priority at factories and component suppliers, meaning that there are more PlayStation 5s in the world and in the UK than Xbox Series X, which makes a lot of sense, though, given that it's a 2-to-1, looks like pretty much 2-to-1 in sales. Although PlayStation is usually dominant, the UK is traditionally the second strongest Xbox market in the world, after the US. And the weakest for Nintendo. What that would mean is, if all things were equal, it's hard to say, though, especially as Microsoft has not yet released any first-party games for its new consoles. What is clear, though, is that all 3 console manufacturers managed to do well, and it does look like the PlayStation 5 is going to be a pretty easy win for them for this generation. But this article, which I'm going to definitely link, and you guys can check that out in the description, I think that it very much goes on to kind of mention some of the facts, which is, Microsoft hasn't released a first-party game for its console this year, and PlayStation is dominant in the UK, and the UK is Microsoft's second biggest market. So if they're in last place in the UK, what's that going to say about the future of Xbox? And what's it going to say for the future of gaming in general? Now, I'm happy that it seems like all these companies are doing well. And you might go, well, you don't like Xbox. Couldn't be further from the truth. I like Xbox. I want Xbox to do better. Again, when they allude back to the first party situation, I think that's going to be fixed in a few years' time. But even the stuff that they have coming, isn't a huge win in my opinion. Redfall looks okay. We haven't actually seen any gameplay. I'm sure Forza Horizon will be okay. I'm sure it's going to be great, actually. When it comes to Halo, not sold on it yet, to be quite honest. I think the multiplayer looks fine, but we haven't seen anything in the single player, and I'm more of a single player Halo kind of person, so the multiplayer doesn't really mean much to me. But at the same time, I guess we'll have to wait and see how this all works out long term, but it does look like PlayStation is definitely back on top. I mean, that should be expected at this particular point. So it's very much an interesting point of fact when we see that PlayStation 5 is doing so well, and consoles in general doing well. I mean, that's what I love to see, to be honest with you, because I love video game consoles, and I want to see these consoles continue to do extremely well in terms of what actually kind of happens. So it's very interesting to see how this is all kind of coming about. I love seeing what's happening with with Microsoft and Sony right now. Sony more on the side of getting stuff out in a relative better way. But it's also good to see that gamers are going to be very much getting plenty of stuff to play, especially on the PlayStation side. Hopefully Microsoft can get their act together. But let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.